Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live broadcast of Tunesday Tuesday with yours truly, Boston Chris. You are listening to Jon Brennan, our special guest for this week here on Tunesday Tuesday. And Jon was a last-minute addition as we had a cancellation yesterday due to the holidays and gigging out there, which is great. And I hope to have Courtney back on the show in the future. A little bit about Jon here tonight. He is a fabulous country singer, born in Waukesha, Wisconsin. He is originally from his hometown of Owensboro, Kentucky. He is considered the 8th ever reality TV star ever. From the MTV show The Real World Los Angeles, which aired in 1993. He's also been on the MTV shows Road Rules, The Challenge, and also on Paramount Plus's The Real World Homecoming more recently. Jon has toured extensively with acts such as Alabama, George Jones, Kenny Chesney, Tim McGraw, Shenandoah, Neil McCoy, Eddie Rabbitt, Marty Stewart, Diamond Rio, Joe Diffie, Ronnie Millsap, just to name a few. He's performed on the Grand Ole Opry. He has a podcast with one of his fellow Real World contestants, Beth. The podcast is called Getting Real with Jon and Beth. We're going to talk about that today. And he is going to be releasing the world launch of his brand new single, which is called Tell Me There Ain't a God. And we're going to be playing that song live here for the first time ever, anywhere, tonight. We are super excited to bring to you Mr. Jon Brennan. Let's get to the interview with him and talking about him and his song, guys.
How we doing?
Not too bad. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
Merry Christmas.
Same to you. So I was just telling everybody through my intro that you are a last-minute replacement, but first of all, I gotta thank you big time for stepping up for us tonight, my dude.
Well, I thank you for the invitation. I was just watching your live stream here on Facebook or something, and I heard you playing my first radio single. I ain't done singing yet. Thank you for that.
Of course. And that was your debut single. What was that like, man, after so long in the business, just releasing a debut single so recently, really?
You know, it was crazy. I've been singing country music for 40 years. Okay.
Right.
I'm 50 years old. So, you know, back when I was 18, I was on television and I came back to Nashville, got a record deal, opened for all these big stars. And then the record label signed Trace Adkins, and they dropped me when they signed him. And so I still tear up a little when I hear honky donk, badonky donk. I know it's not a Christmas song, and here it is Christmas Eve. I'm dropping the badonka donk, but yeah. So, you know, I was.
It's not like you can just fight him either, right? Because Trace is like 8 feet tall. So, like,
well, I got to be honest with you. I'm a big old boy myself. I see eye to eye with old Trace.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
all right.
He's a super nice guy. Actually.
Yeah.
Very, very nice guy. But anyway, yeah, I mean, so I never put out a record. And then about 4 years ago, I was literally in the shower I was living in Alabama, and I was having this conversation with myself. And I said, well, I guess you're done singing country music. I mean, you kind of dropped that and left Nashville. And I kind of got angry with myself. I said, no, you ain't done singing yet. And I thought, well, there's my comeback song. So I wrote that song, and that was my first radio single after you know, having left Nashville for about 20 years.
And that was a couple years ago, right? Like 22 or 23?
22 or maybe even 21, actually. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, a huge late start with actually recording and writing music. So how did that kind of prepare you for the recording side of things and releasing music now? I mean, first of all, it's going to be pretty exciting, right? Like, I mean,
I'm excited.
Yeah, done so much, and now you get your own songs out there with your name on them, and they're good songs too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think they are.
Yeah,
I think they are. Well, I mean, I've been a country music fan since 1980. I mean, I remember in the car asking my dad, "Who is that singer? I like him." It was George Strait. I mean, he was brand new.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, I came to Nashville when I was 18 in 1992. And then, you know, I got cast onto an MTV reality show, which no one knew what a reality show was. I hadn't even named it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a lot of detours. And then I went into ministry, actually. I was a youth pastor, led music in churches all over the States, and a missionary in East Africa. And you know, I just never really accomplished my goals of being a singer. So I'd done a lot of singing and performing, and I've done some recording, but I just never had really pulled the trigger or had a team pull the trigger for me to release songs to the mainstream public. And it's kind of strange because I've been in and out of Nashville for 32 years. But I just kind of put my foot down and said, hey, if no one's going to help me put this out, I'm going to put it out myself. Well, the business has changed so much. You can actually do that so much easier.
Yeah.
In the 1990s, you had to have a record company to put your music out or you weren't heard. Now, you got to remember, when did you start using the internet? When did you start having a phone that had the internet on it? It was, late 90s. You were kind of a happening dude if you had one. There weren't smartphones until 2003.
Yeah, it was the early 2000s. It's crazy because your career is kind of backwards in a way if you think of it, because
not kind of so much back.
It is definitely backwards. Like you've got millions of views on YouTube for something other than music. You've toured and opened for acts from Alabama to Ronnie Millsap, all these legendary artists. You've performed on the Grand Ole Opry. You've been all over the world. You've been all over TV and film. You have a podcast. You've done all of this stuff prior to releasing your first single. And
isn't that crazy?
It's usually the other way around. Usually you release the music and then all the rest of the stuff happens after that.
Yeah, I tend to do things backwards in life. I was country when country wasn't cool. I was MTV kind of before it was cool, or really after it was cool, maybe some would argue. But when I met Ronnie Millsap, I was opening for him at a huge festival called the Jamboree in the Hills. And his sons brought me over to him and said, Dad, this is the guy that, that's on the show with the country singer that's on The Real World. And Ronnie Millsap stuck his hand out. He said, oh man, we love you at my house. I can't say I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what to say. This legend is making cracks at me, and he couldn't have been sweeter. And I love his music. But yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised how many of the big stars, like Kim Kardashian, used to watch us on TV.
Yeah,
And so you're welcome. We inspired the Kardashians.
There you go. And I got to tell you, Ronnie Millsap has some of the best blind jokes on the planet, just so we're clear. I've heard them
so funny.
personally from him. So, when I tell a blind joke and it came from Ronnie, I always say, look, Ronnie Millsap told me that joke, and that makes it okay.
He's a funny guy. He's a great singer, and a legendary singer, and a heck of a nice guy.
Absolutely. So, do you have plans for a record? I know you have a couple of singles out that you've led up to, and you've got tonight's as well that we're going to chat about. But are you planning to compile all this into a collection?
Sure. I mean, when you're doing things yourself, you're funding yourself, so it's real expensive to go and do 10 songs at a time. So, I've got a couple songs that are recorded that I still going to go back in and do the vocals on when I scrounge up the money and the funding to do so. Mm-hmm. But really, the business has changed so much. Nobody goes and buys a 10-song vinyl album or CD or anything. They want to stream the song that they like on Spotify.
Right.
So, eventually we'll just collect them all and say, well, here's 10 and we'll call it an album. But really, we're back in the singles business.
Well, we're country music fans, though. The other side of the coin to that is, having kind of that ethereal journey through a record where one song kind of led into other songs on the record. I know that you're familiar with that, having been an early country music fan. I feel like that's lost with the digitized age now, the way music is, and how singles are just produced every 3 months or whatever. You don't get that connection from song to song anymore. You know what I mean?
I agree. I love the old way, but I have been encouraged to embrace the new way. It's not going away. Now it's we use words that we never used before 10 or 12 years ago, like how many Spotify followers do you have? How many TikTok followers do you have? I don't remember Garth Brooks or Vince Gill getting up and saying, oh, I'm so thankful for this award. My algorithm sure has lined up.
Yeah, the newest thing that I'm seeing, too, is like, how many playlists are you on?
This is the game. The game's changed, and the business has changed, and the way consumers want to listen to country music has changed. And so, we're just kind of going with it.
Do you feel like as an indie artist that helps you, though? Because now you don't really have to... you don't have to sit and record an entire record at one time. You can kind of focus on the singular aspect of it. In that fashion, you can kind of go slower with your raising of the funds for each song.
Yeah, and that's exactly where it helps. You know, when you have a big record label paying for everything, they want to go in and knock it out.
Yep.
And when you're paying for it yourself, or you have private investors, that money trickles in, and so you have enough for a song or two at a time. And it is a different journey for the listener. But you know, you and I are remembering the old days when you'd go listen to a record, you know, an album start to finish, and now the kids, they just, you know, they're really looking for that viral song, and that really not even an entire song, but
Yeah,
those
it's
12
more of
those
a
12 seconds.
soundbite. Yeah, more of a, not even a chorus really. It's just a line
That's
or
right.
two, you know.
That they're going to do a TikTok dance to.
Yep, exactly right. It's crazy how there are artists out there that are, their singular purpose is to try to find that TikTok moment, that viral
Yeah.
moment, and then try to build outward from that. And it does work to some extent on some artists. There's dozens of artists I've found that way that I love. So yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. So let's talk about the podcast. You're also a podcaster, Getting Real with Jon and Beth. Tell us about this.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're like me, you're like, hey, I've heard the word podcast. What is that? Well, you know, there used to be these thing called iPods,
Yeah.
which they kind of came and went. And it's basically a radio show that you stream and listen to whenever you want to. But it's, you know, it might be on your laptop or on your phone. But at one point, it was on an iPod, and you the old, what you'll remember this term. Remember Walkmans?
Yep, I do. Yep.
The cassette and then the
Golly,
CD.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But I have a roommate.
Discman.
Yeah, Discman. I have a roommate that was on The Real World with me, and her name is Beth. If you've been familiar with the MTV shows, The Challenge and The Real World, Beth has always wanted to do a podcast with me. She went out and bought all the equipment and said, John, she lives in Los Angeles, and she said, we can do this over Zoom. We can do this over the internet. We don't have to be in the same state. And then not long after I rekindled my career here, every single person in the music business, including my manager, my record label, said, you need to do a podcast. And look here, I've got a podcast studio right here. The exact same equipment that Beth had purchased, I had available to me there in his studio. And I had 3 or 4 other people say, you've got to be podcasting. You've got a story. You're great at, on the mic and, with the gab. And I said, I can't do this without Beth because she'll kill me. She's literally been asking me for 10 years. So we started a podcast called Getting Real with Jon and Beth. And we have guests anywhere from, reality stars to Shooter Jennings, who's the son of Jesse Coulter and Waylon Jennings. And he's now a Grammy Award winning record producer. And actually, we became good friends because he contacted me over Instagram and said, "Hey, man, I'm a big fan of you."
Oh, you're gonna have to hook a brother up, man. Come on now.
He has been a wonderful friend, and I said, "Shooter, you got to understand something, bud. I sing country music because my father loved your father. That's the reason I sing country music." And both of our fathers now are in heaven, and Shooter and I are borderline best friends.
Nice. So I have interviewed Shooter's uncle Terry. And I have interviewed Shooter's cousin Way.
Okay.
But I've never had the opportunity to chat with Shooter.
Well, he is the nicest, most approachable person, which, from his appearance and from his legendary, just reputation and family reputation. And Dad, you wouldn't think he was the sweetest guy on earth, but he's like,
doesn't
John,
surprise me at all because I have met his fam. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all.
He is the sweetest thing.
I love that. So how often is your show put out?
Every single Monday.
Wow.
We have 68 episodes. We're just over a year old. And even last year's Christmas Day was on a Monday. And we have not missed it. It's real important to be consistent.
Continuity is important. Yep.
Here you are on Christmas Eve. Mm-hmm. And so, your listeners want to know that, hey, are we having it? Because it's a holiday. You know what? We're having it.
Yeah, you understand.
So
I'm going to be
every
here
single
regardless.
Monday.
Yep.
Every single Monday at 8 a.m. on the West Coast, which is 11 o'clock on the East Coast. And it's everywhere that there are podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, Apple, everywhere that there is a podcast availability. Getting Real with Jon and Beth. It's a fun 45 minutes every Monday.
So you'll make sure you're checking that out. We'll make sure that's in the description. This is a live broadcast, but I also put the replay and the interview out separately on YouTube afterwards. So this will be available forever on YouTube. So you guys check that out in the description.
Things live forever on the internet.
That's
I
right.
learned this
Yep.
on reality TV. The things you say when you're 18
Careful
years
what
old
you
on
say. That's
MTV,
right. Yep.
the things you tweet, they stay there.
Yep. That's no lie. I'll tell you the truth, man. I did a thing in junior high. It was like just some kind of like project for junior high history or something like that. And somehow that made it on the internet in like 2020, 2021, something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, somebody found that. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been
I get it.
podcasting since 2016.
Wow.
So before, like, I'm the dinosaur of podcasting.
Before it was cool. Before
Yeah,
it was cool
way
to be a
before it was
podcast.
cool. Way before it was cool. So, all told, I've done like 5 or 6 different shows along the way, and I think we're like maybe a dozen or so episodes from hitting 400 total.
Wow.
Yeah, so
It's really fun. I mean, like this, what we're doing right now is just a lot of fun. The hard part, as you know, is scheduling people and filling in when people drop out. And
researching. Yep.
technology.
Yep.
Hey, I hope this link works. No, this doesn't work with this
Oh my
browser. You got
gosh,
to
yeah.
use this browser.
And I'll keep it real, like with this, the last minute nature of this, I was removing and changing out graphics literally 30 seconds before I hit the live button. I forgot that I had scheduled a post for Instagram, and the Instagram post still had the old graphics on it. And I thought of it just before I hit the live button. I was like, oh my gosh. But I think I took care of it. I'll check afterwards. But yeah, let's talk about the reason why you are here, the brand new song. Again, guys, I can't say this enough, man. Jon has really helped us out a lot here tonight, not just by filling in, but this is the world premiere of his brand new single. The song is called Tell Me That There Ain't a God, and you think that this might be the one for you, right? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, to say that this is a brand new song is even premature. It's not out yet. You are the first one to ever talk to me about this song or to consider playing it. This song is one of those showstopper songs. Like when you hear it, you'll stop in your tracks because the lyrics are just that good. The melody's just that good. I'm a song person. I've been in love with music my whole life. And if I heard this song on the radio, I would tell everybody, be quiet and we got to listen, turn this up, because the words are so phenomenal. I've literally had this conversation with dozens and dozens of people. And I feel like this song was written for me to sing. I did not write it. But one of the songwriters is a guy named Greg Barnhill, who country music fans will know his name because he wrote a lot of hits that you're familiar with, like Trisha Yearwood's song that she did with Don Henley, Walk Away Joe. I mean, just a monster song. It's one of those songs that you gotta turn it up and listen to every line, because it's just like, wow, what a song. And this song, Tell Me That There Ain't a God, he wrote with 2 other folks, and want to make sure I give them credit too, Stephen Mark Pash and Thomas Harrison Tillman Jr. And man, I heard it, and they said, well, the thing about this song is it's available if you like it, but it hasn't always been available. You see, Tim McGraw had it on hold. When an artist like Tim McGraw puts a song on hold, it means no one else can consider recording it. The songwriters and the publishers are not going to grant permission to anyone else to actually record it and put it out there. So it became available because Tim McGraw just decided, you know what, it kind of sounds like Live Like You Were Dying, or a couple other of his monster hits. And they said, wow, we love this song, we're not going to record it. And so it became available. And I stopped in my tracks. I said, that song was written for me to sing. There's a reason that Tim McGraw didn't record it after, so many albums, and after having it on hold. And it's about 2 men that sit on an airplane, and they're strangers. One guy turns to the other guy and sees his Bible that he's reading and goes, oh man, there ain't a God. There ain't a God. And that's really the truth. You see, I had a sister that died. I've never seen any miracles. And then the guy goes, well, dude, there's a miracle everywhere you look, like the breath you just took and the way your heart just beat, and the fact that we're sitting in this airplane and we're not crashing to the ground. And man, if you don't believe in miracles, there's actually one sitting right next to you. It's me. I'm a miracle. And it's a great song. It's a stop you in your tracks song. And I fell in love with it. It's actually my best studio performance. I've done a lot of recording, but I don't feel like I've performed a song vocally as good as I performed this song. and I can't wait for the world. We just did a music video to it that hasn't even been edited.
Mhm.
I told the editor, look, it's Christmas. It's going to be there afterwards. Enjoy Christmas, and we'll get it to it afterwards. So the video has not even been completed. We're done shooting it, but the song's been done since many months, and we've just been sitting on it.
This is my 8th week doing the show. This is the first song I will be playing not on YouTube. This song is not on YouTube. It's not on Spotify. This song is nowhere. The only place you guys will be able to hear this song is right here tonight. You mentioned stopping your tracks, and that really that's a good way to put it, because there are songs out there that you're listening to the song and they just give you chills. They make your breath to catch in a way, and this song is one like that. And there was another song that it reminded me of, and the stories in the songs are different. And you may not even know what song I'm referring to. It's called One Last Time, or One. Let me make sure I have it right. It was released in 2003. It was called One Last Time. Yeah, it was by Dusty Drake, and it was about the 9/11 crash. Wow. If you remember the song, but it was one of those stop in your track songs, and again, it had the theme of being on an airplane too. Obviously, different stories and different plots to the song, but it reminded me of that, hair standing on edge kind of song. If you don't know the song, you should definitely check it out, John.
Yeah, sure will.
It's called One Last Time by Dusty Drake, but I'm excited about this one too. Again, you're right. Like, everything can be viewed as a miracle. And of course, I feel like just the things that human beings can do nowadays is miraculous, as opposed to 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 300 years ago, right?
Yeah. Sure. And, I was, when I was on MTV on a reality show, before they even knew what a reality show was, they picked me because I wore a cowboy hat and sang country music, and I was young, from Kentucky.
Yep.
What they found out pretty quickly was I was pretty grounded in my faith. And when I got discouraged in Nashville and country music, what I ended up doing was ministry, and youth ministry and leading music in churches. And I went to Africa and did a lot of mission work. But I've had this conversation a million times. That's why I didn't write this song, but I really identify with it, because I've had a lot of conversations where it goes, man, I just have a hard time believing. And I'm like, man, you just took a breath. Like, who told you to take a breath? Who provided the air for you to take that breath? I mean, here we are on Christmas Eve. Yep. Yeah, and we're celebrating the coming of Jesus tonight on Christmas Eve. I mean, everything is a miracle, and just we're fragile creatures. We're walking, talking miracles, and I just think that this song, it represents a conversation I've had about 1,000 times with people going, man, I want to believe, but I've had bad things happen to me. And it's like, we've all had bad things happen. They're going to continue to happen, by the way. But man, your heart just beat, and that's a miracle.
Well, John, thank you again very much for being here with me tonight, sharing this song with everybody out there. Let me know when the video is out as well, and I'll make sure that gets into the description, because that's the other beautiful thing about the internet. You can
be edited.
You can edit it later, right?
Hey, thanks for having me, and to your listeners, I'm on social media. I'm on Spotify. Please give me a follow. Instagram, TikTok, at jonbrennan.com. And I sure appreciate you playing the record tonight.
And we do have your @ on the screen as well. It's at Jon Brennan Country on Facebook, and I think it's at jonbrennan.com on Instagram. So make sure you guys are following him in both of those places. Check out the website. Follow along with everything John has going on. He's a busy guy, and we're just super blessed to have you on tonight again. Thanks for your time, my man.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Same to you, sir. All right, guys, we are going to play the brand new song from Jon Brennan. The world premiere of this song is going to be right here tonight. If you are watching on YouTube later on and you're only seeing the interview portion of this, make sure you click the replay in the description below if you want to hear all the great songs that we're going to play tonight, including this great song from Jon Brennan. Once again, this is Tell Me There Ain't a God. Enjoy.